again, for myself, and I can only speak from my own personal experience, but now I can tap into that universal energy field force daily, and I do it daily. Again, it's usually through a practice of meditation. So, my eyes are closed, I'm breathing in a certain way, and I'm just tuning out the world, but then I'm tuning into it. And it's like your mind can expand infinitely outward, and you kind of become everything. I know that, again, that's not going to make sense to somebody that hasn't experienced that state, but it's a very expansive state. Something like, if you were to take, some sort of psychedelic drugs as well, once in a while I'll do magic mushrooms, and this is still better than that. Like, I can understand the transcendental experience of magic mushrooms, and I get that, but I still know when I'm in that state that it's somewhat chemically induced. I can pop outside of my body, look at the experience, and see that it's a chemical lens. That chemical is providing my consciousness a lens to see an alternate reality, something that is different from the lens of, or the mechanism of, my regular conscious mind. But when I'm in a state of meditation and this sort of blissed out state, again, time sort of doesn't exist in the same way. I can be sitting for 30 seconds and it can feel like I was gone for an hour. I can be sitting for an hour and it feels like 1 minute passed. It just depends. It depends on, again, the flow state. The other thing that I've experienced is a vertigo. I get because I feel very light. I mean, I don't know any other way to experience it, but I don't feel like there's a lot of heaviness in my body. So part of that is also kind of feeling a little bit like, almost like a wave, like my body isn't quite solid. There's definitely periods where I don't feel like solid matter 100%. And it does manifest for me as very, very, a bit dizzy, vertigo, not feeling, like feeling very light, like almost like I could float, a very floaty kind of feeling. Now, it's not terrible, but it's a bit scary in the sense that it's not what I'm used to experiencing. Hence why I'm talking about it, because again, if other people are experiencing this, I've learned to realize that I've got to trust the process. So many beautiful things have happened throughout my life. So, even though there's that fear that will bubble up, like what's happening to my body, like what's going on, am I getting sick? But then I realize I have lots of energy and my body does function well, and it's just a very distinct lightness. Also, speed. I feel like when you start to sort of transform into this light body, speed calibrates a little bit differently for your vehicle. Like, it's heightened. Like if I'm going 50 kilometers an hour, it feels like I'm getting sucked into like 150 kilometers. It feels very, very visceral, very real. And every little slight bump, my body like articulates and reacts to it. So it's almost like a merging of like the primitive brain being hyper articulate and really tuned in and zoned into everything, like razor sharp senses. And I mean, part of this is that I have a very, very clean diet, so very, very healthy living style. So I think to some degree, when you get rid of heavy metals and you're really detoxifying your system, your brain's just going to be like that of a wild animal in a way, very, very articulate and sharp. So that's part of it. Now, what else can I tell you about symptoms? Extreme tiredness sometimes and crazy amounts of energy. So I will go through times where I have so much energy, it's crazy. Like I can just get so much work done. And then there'll be times that for no particular reason, I am so exhausted that I can't even get out of bed. And that's something I think that anybody that's going through this process will experience. And from what I understand, this extreme tiredness is or happens a lot when you're getting a ton of downloads from the universe. So if your cellular structure, your DNA coding is getting a ton of new information from the celestial realms, from, the quantum field, oftentimes you'll actually have to go into a bit of a sleep cycle to integrate all of these things. And when you sleep, you're actually, your soul family, your auric body, everything that you are in this three-dimensional vehicle is also integrating those new downloads and codes into your cellular matrix. And so what I find is, again, I feel super tired sometimes and I just have to sleep, and there's no particular reason for it. It just comes in sort of a, like, I actually feel like it's almost like a cocoon where I don't even have a choice. It's just done to my body. I have to go into this cocoon stage. I have to really sleep. I find that I have really intense dreams when this is happening. So I'll often wake up, I'll have to write a lot of automatic writing when these things are happening. Sometimes it's lovely, sometimes it's a little scary. There's a lot of things to learn, things to integrate. A lot of it comes in the language of science. So really trying to understand how the science fits into some of the more metaphysical or metaphorical teachings that have come from ancient cultures. So then I find myself having to go inside and really trying to unravel the information that I've been given through these dreams, through whatever the downloads are. And in the beginning, I was like, what the heck is this? Like, this is pretty intense. I don't, am I losing my marbles? But then I realized that once I just kind of chilled out about the whole experience and just allowed my pen to write and realized that the information that I was receiving was pretty good, and it wasn't gonna hurt anybody. It actually made sense. And if I could back it up with looking at different aspects of science, quantum physics, mathematics, and if it actually kind of all fit together, then it's probably some good, correct information. The other thing too, with feeling very energized, okay? We just went through the Lionsgate portal. There was a ton of energy coming through down to planet Earth. I found it extremely energizing. So through that whole period, I had a ton of energy. I couldn't sleep at night. It was just, a very beautiful, very high vibrational energy, like a crazy high. And again, a high that didn't end and a high that didn't have a fallout. So that's the other thing about spiritual energy that you'll start to understand is that, we can understand like a high from drugs, like here on planet Earth, people can understand what that is. You take this drug or that drug and your consciousness changes, and therefore you see the world in a bit of a different perspective. So same thing, you're going to, if you're encountering new energy or new downloads, you're going to be getting new information that is coming through, is streaming through you, and you're going to feel high, like it's going to feel different. But the cool thing about when you're integrating this celestial energy is that there's no hangover, there's no negative, it's only positive, positive, positive. And I also want to be clear that the energy doesn't just come from the heavens or from the stars and what's going on in the universe at large. It also comes from the earth. So there's crystals that are emanating energy, that are activated by the sun and by solar winds and things that are streaming down into earth like gamma rays. So we have a crystalline structure within the minerals and the rock structure here on earth. And actually there's activations all the time that are happening in the mineral and crystal world that is sort of the grid that is planet Earth. So you're going to feel a lot of energy emanating from the earth itself. And that's why I have to come out into nature. I have to be around the trees, the rocks, the grass. I have to get that, really grounded natural energy. I find I can't heal myself the same way when I'm in a city and there's a lot of electromagnetic. So again, when I'm in the city and there's a lot of sort of electromagnetic interference, there's a lot of concrete, and then again, there is that very heavy, pervasive density of a lot of the collective consciousness that is still calibrating at a very low level. So when you have a lot of minds in a dense area like a city, you're going to feel a lot of chaos and violence and whatever's going on in the mix of that collective consciousness, because again, when you have a lot of minds that are interconnected in a small space like that, it's a very, very, very powerful vortex or a very powerful energy. So it's great if you can help to raise the vibration of any mass consciousness or a tightly organized consciousness like a city or a town. If you can really help the minds, the mind, body, spirit complexes that are there to actively raise their vibration, that's great. I mean, the more things you can do to help that process, the better. But also, once you've sort of started on this ascension process, and when you start to have that feeling that you're getting more of a light body, you have to be very, very attuned to that, and you have to be very careful to balance your energy centers and make sure that you are going back to the well of energy that we have here on planet Earth, and that is very much being in nature, being in that blissful state of what is out manifesting from the creation source. So you have to understand, our creation source is our central sun, and then there's other celestial bodies and other aspects of obviously the solar system that are also sending energy to Earth, and that is the higher realms of creation, and that's what creates nature, trees, the different species we see here, all the colors, all the vibrancy of Earth. And then there's the creative force, which is the collective consciousness of humanity, and that is also a creative force, but because it is in its infancy in terms of being a very diligent, properly calibrated creation force, there's a lot of distortion within the collective consciousness. So you have to know about that, you have to pay attention to it, and you need to really guard your own energy field so that as this chaos dissipates, and again, we're moving into the new age, and this is a time of transition. Okay, that's the best way that I can explain it, because again, I never want to teach anything fearful or that we should be holding fear within ourselves. Transformation and change is the nature of everything that is. Everything is change. But with that said, sometimes with change, there is a little bit of chaos, there is a little bit of reorganization and upheaval. We see that with everything around us: birth, death, light, dark, the transitions of all that is, how planets are made, how stars are born. Like, everything is a little bit of chaos to create things that are beautiful, and everything has its ebb and flow. And so there are times when there's a lot of transition, and there's times when things equalize. Okay, so we're in a time that we can kind of expect that there's going to be a lot of transitions and a lot of reorganization, and that's what we're seeing in the world today. So number one thing is not to be fearful of anything that you are experiencing. Fear is a low calibrating thought form state. So really just being in faith, having trust on your journey, trusting the universe, really important, and just allowing yourself to enjoy the story and be along for the ride. When we're living in the now, specifically, this is a type of mindset that allows you to understand that the beautiful mystery of life should be experienced moment by moment. When we try too hard to project our own desires onto what we want to see, oftentimes it's like we're wrestling with the quantum field and not trusting the fact that everything is always working out and recalibrating for our greater good. And that's what faith is about. So I'm going to end this video series for tonight on what it means to go through the awakening and ascension process. Hopefully this helped you a little bit. Hopefully you're not scared of what you're going through, and have a wonderful Saturday evening.